When you combine a media career spanning 4 decades and unquestionable passion with 4 Olympic Games and great sporting knowledge, you get a sports show that takes you to the heart of the action. Join KG and the General today from 3 p.m. on AustraliaLiveTV.com to hear from the people making and writing the big sports stories of the day. As well as KG and Phil Smythe, hear the views and opinions from sporting greats Mark Rasciuto, Neil Curley and Russell Ebert. It doesn't matter what game you follow, if you want to stay in the game, then log on to KG and the General today from 3 p.m. on AustraliaLiveTV.com.
And its president, Brett Duncanson, is our guest. Brett, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Brett, quite a few years of financial turmoil now. You must be relieved in the form of Gordon Pickard. Multi-million-dollar deal there. How are you feeling?
Oh, look, it's something we've been working on for a number of months, and everyone should understand that Gordon was a supporter of ours over the last 18 months or so, but this, in true Gordon fashion, came out of the blue with us as we talked about the one-club strategy earlier in the year and its failed attempt. He then contacted me, and to be honest, I told the story to our members Saturday night. Within about 8 minutes, Gordon had committed a multi-million-dollar deal over 3 years with the football club, a cash injection. On top of that, he's refinancing the hotel that when we brought the clubs back together, that actually we share. So he's refinanced that, a significant contribution cash-wise, and yeah, it's simply outstanding and something we didn't expect. And importantly, Gordon's message is it's not just about football that he's supporting. He wants to support the wider community in South Australia, and he really wants to see our club successful, but he wants to see the community actually engaged into our football club. So he has some strings attached, and they're very simple ones, and that is we must grow our appeal and we must grow our attendances and membership. So, yeah, we're very excited, and it's great times to be around the Port Adelaide Football Club.
Brett, that's just quite extraordinary. To be clear on that point, you'd been working on something, but then ultimately what he came to the club with was a surprise. You hadn't had much warning of the detail of the package.
Look, without disclosing the amount, I've dealt with Gordon and formed a great relationship with him over the last 12 months, and he's a man of his word, and I told the story on Saturday night that he was just giving a car away at the time for us to a person who won a car off this season's loyalty program, which he supported. And he said, "You got a minute to come into the boardroom?" And when Gordon asks you to go somewhere, it's usually very quickly, and you do as you're told. So went into the boardroom, and he said, "Look, I want to see your community engaged back into the football club as one. I want to see this club successful." And he then basically told me with a shake of a hand what he was willing to do. We then gave it to our legal teams in the following 24 hours, and he signed it, and I signed it within 48 hours of him shaking my hand, which was quite extraordinary.
And can you tell us a bit more about Gordon? Is he a private man? Is he a huge sport nut? What kind of history does he have in this arena? What are his motivations moving forward?
Look, it's a great question. What his motivators are is he wants to see the community. And one thing that really stuck out when I was dealing with Gordon over this agreement was that he said, "Brett, you and I don't own the footy club. The players have no greater rights here than the members. It's their club, and the wider community owns the sport in the state." So he wanted to ensure that group of supporters, and in particular ours, had a football club that could go, be growing far stronger at a rate of knots that he thought it needed to. He thinks it needs to grow its appeal, and with his support we can do that. But he is an extremely private man. I suppose if you're a Victorian club and you had this sort of deal, you'd be a sit-down press conference and there'd be cameras everywhere. And Gordon, one of the conditions he gave me, and they're usually written on a napkin, is that you must announce this to your supporters before you announce it to anyone else. So I did that Saturday night. He was going to attend, but then he realised that one of his companies he owns, he needed to go to their Christmas party. So he only flew in from London on Friday morning at 9:30. We caught up for lunch on Friday, and he, in addition to the deal that we announced on Saturday night, has agreed to support probably the greatest function we'll put on in our short period of time in the AFL on April the 8th next year. So there's more news with Gordon with our footy club to come.
Brett, with regard to the Prince of Wales Hotel, obviously an attractive asset and one heavily involved and talked about with regard to the merger. Part of the Pickard contribution is money to refurbish or revamp the hotel. How important a piece will it be in the financial security of the Port Adelaide Football Club?
Well, look, what the one club has allowed us to do now is that we had two competing entities. We had the licensed club at Alberton, and then we had the Prince of Wales down the road. Yep. So first and foremost, we're not opposition anymore in the marketplace. Gordon's contribution, and one thing the Maggies couldn't do, which we can do, is with his contribution to the loan agreement, we now can finance the redevelopment of the Prince of Wales, and we'll do that in 2011. And David Bashir from our board will head that up, and he has great experience in that space. So we'll focus on doing that very quickly and getting the revenue up, and then part of our medium-term strategy is to shift our gaming operations away from Alberton to another facility. So that all sort of works hand in glove in making sure the Prince of Wales becomes sort of our key gaming operation in that district.
Brett, Lee Wicker announced that $12 million would be injected into SANFL. What will happen now with Gordon's injection? How will that change? How will it grow?
Look, I think what Lee said, and it was fantastic to hear, is that the Port Adelaide Football Club, and it's important to note this because there is a lot of misinformation out there, that the Port Adelaide Football Club and the Adelaide Football Club are key revenue generators for football in this state. And
yep.
That filters right down to grassroots. So we're not a burden on any club. We're not a burden on football in this state. And what the $12 million was is our club going forward, as Lee stated publicly, will be responsible for $12 million back to the SANFL over the next 3 years, which is fantastic. The challenge for us is to grow that $12 million injection back into football. But it's a key message to people out there, and it's something that everyone must understand, that there's no handouts to the Port Adelaide Football Club or the Adelaide Football Club. There's no grants. It's simply the fact that they generate the revenue there at Amy Stadium, and will do for a period of time yet. And that revenue is getting filtered back or driven back through to grassroots footy. So Gordon's contribution shouldn't change that at all. The fact is that we'll be really focused on growing attendances at Amy. When and if we go to Adelaide Oval, that's secondary to us at the moment. We need to grow our attendances at Amy Stadium, and therefore push more revenue back to grassroots footy.
Brett, just a last word on finances, and it's one I ask because it's a bone of contention of mine, and that's the manner in which the bottom lines are reported in this state with regard to both the Crows and the Power. Does it frustrate you that often we see figures without context, without any reference to payments made to the SANFL and others, and they get reported alongside boom profits of clubs like Collingwood and Carlton and others, and really devoid of context, it's meaningless? It must frustrate.
Yeah, look, that's a great question and/or statement. Look, the fact is that the two clubs in the state have a unique sub-licence agreement, which has been fantastic for those clubs with the SANFL and the Commission, and we have a unique set of circumstances. So to compare apples for apples financially, look, and I'm privy to what every other club, how it's dealt with the AFL directly.
Yep.
Look, it is unfair probably to compare, but at the same time, our board and our club is very focused on working within the parameters that we've got. We'll ensure that we keep punching above our weight, because we believe we do, and it's just all about looking forward and growing our appeal in this state and our brand, and with a new coach, getting the one club back to where it should be. And now Gordon's announcement, we think it's a very exciting time to be around the Port Adelaide Footy Club, and we just urge all those people that are interested in being involved with an exciting brand going forward. Port Adelaide is going to be the place to be, we think.
Brett, there's no doubt it's been a super 2 weeks off the field for the club. I read, however, today a bit of bad news. David Roden, unfortunately, appears to require further LARS surgery. It must be a bit of a setback, and I imagine it would have been a little bit of a surprise with him going for the other stuff.
The first I heard of it, actually, when your producer asked me about it, because we had a long board meeting yesterday afternoon, so we weren't privy to that information. And look, what we do know with David is he's probably the most popular player around the club.
Yeah.
And he has a great attitude to life. He has a great family around him. And if anyone's going to get through the challenges, if they're correct in what you're saying, and I'm sure they are, it'll be David. And look, we'll be very supportive of him, as we are all our players. And if that's the case, we just hope that he has a speedy recovery. And I'm sure that he'll still walk around with a smile on his face, whatever's wrong with him.
It's just so unfortunate. He was for so long. His recovery was lauded as a success of the new method of doing things. And perhaps it's not an indictment on the way the surgery was done or anything like that. It's just unfortunate because the way he came back, the way he relies on pushing off his knee and pivoting and twisting,
you're right.
In only the way he can, it's quite unfortunate. To other matters, Brett, the AFLPA did meet last week, had a conference with their constituents. One of the points to come out of it, some players raised frustrations with the AFL changing their official carrier from Qantas to Virgin. Now, anyone who's flown between Qantas and Virgin knows there are some differences in the airline, the seating, the availability of business class and things like that. Anyone within Port, has it irked any players? Or
no, look, not that I'm aware of. Look, our players concentrate on playing the game, and how you get to the game is probably secondary. And look, you're not talking about, there are two airlines and two great companies within the country, so it's something that's really out of our control. And our players, we haven't heard it back at board level they've got any issues with it. And as long as the simple things that the fact that we can get there within the time frames that we need and get back within the time frames we need, they're the probably only things that we'd require as a club. But as far as which airline's branded that takes you, in our case, to and from interstate, well, that's not a major issue for us. We've got a lot more things to focus on.
Oh, sorry. It's good to hear that the team is relaxed about the deal. But, I mean, on a realistic point, they're big boys and, need to repair after their games. What does life look like in economy, in cattle class?
Oh, you'll be pleased to know that none of our players that I'm aware of, nor the board, or myself or the CEO, ever sit in business class to and from games. So it's no different for us. We're always in economy class, we call it. So it will make no difference to us at all. We do have a fight over exit rows, because when you have a coach that's about 6'6", and a couple of ruckmen, they do fight over the exit rows, but never a fight over business class, because it doesn't exist with us.
Brett, just changing tack again quickly. So many wonderful issues to talk about at the AFL at the moment. A bit of a unique one with the Viney situation. I'm sure you watched on with the Melbourne Football Club. Young Jack and father Todd back to the club. Jack is a father-son selection. It's still a couple of years away. And then this morning in the Advertiser, a story about Bill Stretch, just 14 years of age, being monitored by Melbourne. Where does this end? I mean, Port are a club with a long history of families being successful, a 14-year-old being followed and talked about their involvement they can have with him, monitoring development and indeed participating in it going forward. It's unprecedented, is it not? Do you ever
look, it is quite unique, but I think that the game, the industry is moving that quickly that you need to move with it.
Yep.
And I think we're not far away from the English Premier League type style academies and
Wow.
And I think that you'll find that in our case we've got some very exciting, the next generation that you've got, I think between the two Burgoynes, I think there's 4 or 5 boys there. There's, I think, I know Treaders has got a son, so we've got that there's a whole range of players I could list with that father-son rule that should kick in for us. So in our individual case, I think we're probably a little bit away from having to deal with that yet, but I think you'll find with the AFL that the whole industry, as I say, is moving that quickly, and the clubs that have substantial funds at their fingertips, they'll be looking at players as early as 13, 14, and seeing what they can do to retain them through to the time that they can kick an AFL footy.
And just lastly, before we do get you going, since we've canvassed your opinion on just about everything going on in the AFL at the moment, but, Brett, AFL reserve teams as standalone entities from VFL clubs or even SANFL clubs has been mooted again. A view on that and the powers position?
Oh, look, we've spent a lot of time on getting the Port Adelaide football community back together, and we really haven't discussed the reserves competition because we'll be unique in the AFL and something we'll be very proud of, that we'll have under 14s, under 16s, 18s, reserves and a state league team going around under the Port Adelaide name. So we're really focused on that at the moment. Okay. And it was important for us to retain those grades. And when the Victorian clubs come over here and say they're an authentic footy club, I think once you've got grades going around, junior grades, and you have a zone, and there'll be Academy of Excellence on the West Coast to be retained that Maggie's done a great job with, I think we can proudly say we're an authentic footy club, and we'll concentrate on that at the moment.
Well, Brett, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us and being so candid on all those issues that we decided to pick your brain on. Thank you very much, and congratulations on what's been a super couple of weeks for Port off the field.
Thanks again for your support.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Brett.
Brett Duncanson there, president of Port Adelaide.